Oh, hello, and welcome to Al Dente Rigamortis. I'm Review Cultist.
I'm Mikey. E stands for evil.
And I'm the gamer in yellow.
And we're here to discuss those internet stories, most creepy and most pasta, and be critically silly doing it. And tonight we have The Silver Mist Forest. So, we're doing another story by Levi Athens. You may remember from such stories as Tending to the Graveyard.
And others.
Actually, I think we've only done 2 of them so far, so...
I'm sure they have done more than 2 of them.
Yeah. And we plan on eventually covering the bulk of the other stories, so... But, yeah, for today we're doing The Silver Mist Forest. It's on creepypasta.wiki, so you can check it out there. And before I do the rundown, starting The Rock, let's do our initial recommendations. I'm gonna recommend this one.
I'm going to, though, partial recommend.
Interesting.
I'll recommend it.
Okay.
For the time being.
Yeah. Yeah, we'll see how our opinions change over the course of this discourse.
For better or worse.
Yes. But now on to the rundown. So Nair discovers, because again we don't get a name. It's just Nair Ator. Discovers a place in their home state back in 1998 called Silver Mist Forest. They stumbled upon this place while hiking one night, and they went deeper and deeper in, at some point not realizing just how deep they were traversing, and a thick fog rolled in. It was getting darker, and with only a compass, a sat phone, and a keychain flashlight, they began to feel like they were being followed, as they could hear footsteps behind them in the woods. This freaked. No, it's fine. It's fine. I just had a little bit of PTSD from last night. It's fine.
Yeah.
This naturally would freaked out Nair, and they began to run. Eventually hitting a branch though and falling over. When they got back up, they found that their compass was maybe broken or something because it was just spinning round and round and round. But they also discovered while they were looking around that there were power lines in the woods, and they were able to follow them to the main trail and to safety. Though as Nair drove off, they did see a purple light in the sky above the trees. The next day, they felt compelled to return to that forest, but doing so, they encountered a Bigfoot on the way there, like on the road. They had to stop like quickly because some large hairy humanoid went across the road. And then when they got into the woods, they were met by a strange forest ranger demanding that they leave before vanishing in thin air. And finally, a spectral wolf creature telling them psychically, it seemed, to turn back. Finally getting the hint, Nair got back to their car and drove home, but not before being escorted out of the wood of the wooded region by a winged humanoid with red eyes. Talking later to friends and such about the area and the woods, several of their friends had similar experiences, it seemed, specifically with that forest and being pushed out of that forest by strange forces. As stated earlier, that was all a long time ago. Like, this was back in the 90s, dude. And the only reason Nair is willing to share this story now in the present day is because recently in the news they found that they saw that the region of forest was engulfed in forest fires. Engulfed in forest fires, and that it really is. Why does this happen? How does this happen?
In the rundown, there's 2 very topical events happening. What the hell?
Yeah, I know. At least at the time of this recording. Maybe not at the time of this thing getting posted, but we'll see. Yeah, so that forest burned down as a result of some kind of forest fire. So it's safe to say that the creature or the thing that was in the woods is probably not coming back as it was. But there are similar places of strangeness all over the world. And as Nair kind of finishes off here, they state kind of, they give us this kind of like cliched kind of ending of like you should be careful of those darker places around the world. Finn. So that was the rundown of the Silver Mist Forest, and I suppose then we'll move on to everyone tolerates the Grand Inquisitions. At this point, I've got a couple. I'm going to start with this one here. Deep within the mountainous valleys of my home state, I found a strange forest called the Silver Mist Forest, but no one can ever go there. So, a little bit of a nitpick, but I'd have gone with I found a strange place called the Silver Mist Forest, so as not to kind of double down on forest in the same sentence.
Oh, yeah.
Like,
That's
I found a
fair.
strange forest called the Silver Mist Forest.
It was a forest over here. Yeah.
They mostly come at night, mostly.
Deep within the in the forest-heavy valleys of my home state, I found a strange forest called the Silver Mist Forest. It's a
Or
forest
even-
like none other.
Or even better, deep within the mountainous valley forests of my home state's forests, I
I
found
found a strange forest.
called the Silver Mist Forest.
Well,
Yeah.
we're really putting a lot of ham on this for no reason.
Yeah, like silliness aside, like just this is probably a nitpick, but yeah, I could have done with like a different name, or like another word for forest, like so that we weren't double down. That's all it was.
That's fair. For
Yeah.
me, I have a different nitpick on this one.
Okay.
I feel there's too many commas. I feel the first one isn't really necessary because the way I read it is deep within the mountainous valleys of my home state, I found a strange forest called the Silver Mist Forest, but no one can ever go there. Like there's too many stops. For
Yeah,
me, I would just go deep within the mountainous valleys of my home state, I found a strange forest called the Silver Mist Forest, but no one can ever go there. Or maybe ellipses out the end. Because that's meant to be sort of foreboding.
And get rid of the comma after home state.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm actually 100% on that. I think that could easily just be like just a full sentence, and then the comma, or like you said, an ellipses after Silver Mist Forest.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Especially because that's saying something weird and not anomalous. What's the word for that?
Like foreboding.
Yeah, that's the word I said before. Okay, I thought it was a different word. yeah.
Okay. So on to my next one then. I didn't expect to be there at dark. I feel like it should be I didn't expect to be there after dark. Because like for some reason like at dark didn't sit well with me. So
I mean, I guess.
yeah, I don't know. Is it a nitpick, or is that actually like do you think it's a legitimate issue?
It's a little nitpicky, but I mean, ever at dark, after dark, it's the same thing.
Yeah.
Regardless, like he didn't expect to be there when it was getting dark enough that he would need a light.
Yeah. Maybe even like I think it's just the at dark kind of like it sounds weird to me, like when you read it, but so like I didn't expect to be there when it got dark. Maybe even like I'd accept that as well, but
Both work.
Yeah.
Like, all
I know,
these options work. It's just what each individual person prefers is all.
Yeah. All right. Well, I'll move on to the next thing here. Did it break in the fall, or was something affecting it? Luckily, I was able to follow some nearby power lines back to safety. Well, wait. Okay. Maybe segue a bit better in introducing the power lines. Like you were almost there. I assume electricity in the power lines might affect the compass and why it was spinning. Like if the charge was strong enough from those power lines. But you need to give us some kind of discovery sentence in there somewhere. Like, so did it break in the fall, or was it something affecting it? Luckily enough, as I looked around for any cause, I spotted some power lines trailing through the woods, just visible through the fog. I was able to follow these lines back to safety.
Yeah,
That's how I would have fixed it. Like,
it does seem a lot more natural instead of them just fabricating lines out of nowhere.
Yeah, like unless of course the power lines are actually the shape changing entity of the story, like trying to
possible.
lead them to get the fuck out.
I kind of like that.
I kind of like that too. I just thought of that now.
It's
Like
actually pretty neat.
that's actually, but that needs to be described. So, oh well, I don't like. How would you describe? How would you like?
Describe that you all of a sudden found those.
It's like suddenly, like were those power lines always there? Like,
I thought I doubled back, but I guess this is a new area. Oh well. Like
yeah,
something like that.
yeah, some kind of like thing like that because like that is such a cool because like this thing is clearly like. Oh, I'll get into my actual thoughts like later, but
Yeah.
like this thing's clearly some kind of shape changer. So, yeah. Um, and actually, speaking of the creature itself, um, turn back, it whispered. The silver wolf took a step forward. I stood frozen for a moment with with panic growing within me. Turn, BACK. It said again, increasing in volume. Oh, okay. So apparently, so when I first read this, I literally read it as like turn BACK, and then I read it, continue reading. It's like, oh, it means like turn back, like they're using the dashes to extend back, but
Yeah.
so there's dashes. It's kind of separating BAC and K, and I get kind of, after we find out like it's increasing in volume. It's like okay, so it's using that to like kind of increase that, but like I feel like an all caps of turn back would be enough or would be sufficient rather than dashes.
Or do repeated letters like turn B A C because then
Yeah,
that'd
like
be it
turn.
being drawn out.
Yeah, like turn
Mhm.
back.
Yeah.
Yeah, but yeah, as it is now, like when I read that, like I don't read like like my go to isn't turn back. It's turn BACK.
Unless the wolf was like, "Let me spell it out for you."
Yeah, that would have worked actually. The shit that fucking would have worked. Like it's like turn back and whisper. It's like here, like you're not getting the message. Let me spell it out for you. Turn BACK back. Like, and plus we get a little bit of snark from this entity.
Yeah.
Some actual like, so we get some personality that would be like really cool. Damn it, I kind of like that now too. Damn it.
Makes it a little silly though.
It does, but at the same time, it gives the creature character, which I'm down for.
Mhm.
But yeah, that's the end of my grammar acquisition. So, Mikey, the E stands for evil.
All right. I have a conjunction junction.
And next stop, conjunction junction. Doot, doot.
But to my surprise, the noise was gone. It wasn't a plane or anything like that. But what was chasing me? It was like a piece of me was still there. It darted its way onto the road ahead. It disappeared into the thick wilderness, never to return again. It would only get weirder from there. It felt even stranger than before. It was only then that I noticed that his name tag was blank and that one of the patches on his shoulders was upside down. It wasn't just the fog covering him. He disappeared entirely before my eyes. It was a frightening specter in the shape of a wolf. It was much larger than any bird, a man-sized winged being. It moved with all the ease of a fish swimming through water. Its wingspan was massive, and as it swooped lower, I saw that it had light gray skin and glowing red eyes. It scowled down at me. It circled above a few times and then flew off, vanishing out of sight. It was as if the forest had its own way of keeping you out or letting you know that you shouldn't be there. It's a mystery that pulls you in but turns you away before you can understand it. It shines in the distance of our knowledge but fades from sight when we approach. It's a place off limits to reality, a place that human beings aren't allowed to go. It's said that a massive fire ripped through that forest, burning away everything in sight. Finn.
Wow. Okay, so before it became just a very succinct version of the rundown, when you got to like, it's like it had like you're describing like the like how it's the Rangers like uniform was wrong, and then like it had like it was suddenly a wolf's head or something. So I'm just like, first there was Wolf Cop, now Wolf Ranger.
I don't know what you're referencing.
Have you never heard about Wolf Cop?
No.
It's like basically he's a cop who's a werewolf. It's like a kind of a not I think it's a homage to like those like really cheesy like 70s like exploitation film or like buddy cop movies and such.
It sounds like it.
Yeah, I think it's by like Rodriguez or one of the like the guy who did Spy Kids or Machete.
Okay.
But yeah, then your rundown or your your rundown. Then your story just became like, or your conjunction junction just became a more succinct version of the rundown as it kept going, because it's just like, oh, this thing's actually just they're being stalked by some kind of shape changing thing.
Mm-hmm. The way that I heard it is basically he was describing the park ranger in his outfit, and then the park ranger disappeared, and then after he disappeared, he went back to actually describe what the park ranger looked like, who, through the combination of all those descriptors, is like a humanoid furry wolf guy wearing a park ranger suit, but he also has like wings, and he's also really pale. Like all of those creatures combined into one.
So it's like a not a, I was gonna go with a griffin, but it's like no. So basically, it's a winged white fang, fur, or no, it's a ranger. It's actually a forest ranger in a fursuit.
Oh, there you go. Yeah,
of a winged white fang.
Mm-hmm.
Or he's Thunderbolt from Beast Wars. He's cosplaying as Thunderbolt from Beast Wars.
Don't remember Thunderbolt.
Third season, they had it was during the Transmetal phase of the Transformers series.
That's very aggressive of them.
I know it is. Where they had a character that was crossed between a wolf and an eagle. So and they called him Silverbolt. Yes, sorry, not Thunderbolt. Silverbolt. Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I see him. He looks cute.
Yeah.
He has yellow weapons, which makes him immediately cool.
Then I'm surprised you probably love his the counterpart that he had for the Predacons, which was like a scorpion snake or like scorpion cobra mix that was like all yellow and like some teal mixed in.
Is that Scorponok?
No, it was the replacement effectively for Scorponok's.
Really?
Quick Strack. He had like because he had like a drawl to him. Look out now!
He has to be saying that for a reason.
Like I literally have I have this distinct memory from like a scene of him where he's like getting like thrown back at like a bunch of the Predacons, and he's all like they look as they're looking up at him, like you're seeing his like him like coming down at him. And you just hear, look out now!
Quick Strack.
They call me Quick Strack.
He looks dope as fuck. Actually,
he is dope as fuck.
What are we talking about? Creepypasta?
Yeah, creepypasta called the Silver Mist Forest, not Beast Wars.
Beast Wars, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, technically, the story it is kind of related because the story is about some kind of shape-changing thing,
That's
and
true.
like, though
It's
as far as we know, it's not robots in
though.
yeah, they might be robots in disguise.
Uh-huh.
Anyway, all right. And the reason why Mikey does these conjunction junctions
is so we can go on these huge tirades and tangents forever. But no,
yeah.
It's to highlight all these sentences in a story that start with words that they probably shouldn't, like its, ends, or buts, because there's always better words to use.
Yeah.
And using its is like the number one like trap that everyone falls into, including all of us, I'm sure.
Yes. All right, then I guess you're up there, gamer.
Guess I am. I must have been caught up in my own mind or some kind of daze, because for whatever reason, I just kept walking and walking without realizing how far I'd gone in. I just blended right into that without making it seem like I was reading a quote.
I literally was like, I thought you were actually talking, like, and then it was like, oh no, that's the quote. Okay.
Either way, in that quote, it's the same as before. I feel like there's one too many commas in there.
Okay.
First one seems okay. The second one seems unnecessary. It goes like, in my own mind or in some kind of daze, comma, because for whatever reason, comma, I just kept walking. Meanwhile, it could just go, because for whatever reason, I just kept walking and walking without realizing how far I'd gone in. There doesn't need to be a break there, in my opinion.
Yeah.
And then, again, for the third time, for the last time probably, an unnecessary comma here. Before long, it was getting dark, and a thick fog was rolling in from a nearby window. So the first one I feel is unnecessary because you could just go, before long it was getting dark, and a thick fog was rolling in. You know?
Yeah.
It seems a little unnecessary. This one is kind of related to what you said before. I was trying to find this quote, but I couldn't find it when you were talking about it in regards to the dark part. But I'm looking at it a very different way. Maybe it's paranoia, but I swear I kept hearing someone behind me, stepping with every step. I didn't expect to be there at dark. So I feel that the mention of not expecting to be there at dark is a bit out of place. It was most recently talking about Nair's fear that someone was following them. It being dark out doesn't directly connect to that, unless it's saying something like, with it getting dark, I couldn't see too far behind me, so I couldn't tell if it was my mind playing tricks on me or not. Like, the darkness doesn't have anything to do with his paranoia right now, but it's dropped as if it is, like, without any context to it. And then at the start of the next paragraph, it could be like, sorry, one way to change it would be to remove it from this, so all the paranoia is on its own paragraph, because this is at the end of a paragraph anyways. And then at the start of the next one, have it go, I didn't expect to be there at dark, but I trekked onward anyway with what little light I had, a small keychain flashlight from my car keys. So then you're separating his paranoia from it being dark.
Yeah.
And then my last one here. I just want to read it so I know what I'm talking about.
Yep.
Right. Next one here. Then the footsteps got louder and faster. I looked behind me, peering through the cloud of fog, but I couldn't see a thing. By this time, I decided it was a good idea to head back. I turned around, going west, but the noises seemed to still follow me. I kind of wish that there was some mention of Nair being hesitant about going back due to walking towards the sounds that he was worried about before.
Yeah, unless he saw, like, when he stopped, he heard that it was like going around him, like it was like trying to like cut him off or something, like in the fog or something.
Maybe, but from the sounds of it,
yeah,
it doesn't do that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it sounds like he's just walking into danger.
Mm-hmm. But there's no mention of that until like a little later on. Also, for it to hammer home a bit more that even though Nair turned around, it was walking. Sorry. Also, it would be nice for it to hammer home a bit more that even though Nair turned around and was walking towards where the sounds were coming from, they were now coming from behind him still, even though he's walking in the other direction, as if whatever was following him just teleported behind him.
Yeah. Like it's always behind him.
Yeah. And it does say in like the next line that Nair going back. Sorry. I gotta slow down. It does say in the next line that when Nair was going back, he was more concerned, but it's after he started doing it. So when he started doing it, it seemed like it didn't bother him that he was heading towards where he was scared of before.
Yeah. It is
struggling to get that out there.
Yeah.
Words, man, they're hard.
Yep. Again, another T-shirt for Al Dente Rigor Mortis, Redbubble account.
Yeah.
Words, they're hard.
Mm-hmm.
Gamer in Yellow 2023.
Yeah. But that's about it for my grammar in yellow right
Okay. Well, that's actually a kind of an okay. Like that selection of quote is actually that you had there is actually a good segue to our actual thoughts. This is not in my notes because of how quickly and how recently this happened. So as of this recording, you may have seen this on Twitter on my posting on Twitter a few weeks back. But so last night, I want to preface this. I read the story and took my notes 2 days ago.
now.
Last night before the night before the day we started recording this episode, I was letting my dog Lucy out to go to the washroom, and when I went to go check on her, I saw that she was like partially in the darkness, like away from the spotlight of the patio, and like I opened the door to look at her, look for her because I thought she might be like eating something or she was like looking out at something in the darkness. So I get out there and I hear like this, like it sounded like rain to me. And I was like, oh, that's weird. Is it? I guess it's still raining. And then I looked around. It was perfectly dry on the ground. It's like, it's not rain. That's something's moving on, like something's like trotting on like leaves and like underbrush in the woods beyond our house. And it's getting louder, i.e. closer to me, and it's moving faster. I could not see it in the darkness. All I had was the spotlight on the patio area. So I call out to Lucy to come inside, and the sound stops. And that was scarier than when it was quickening its pace towards me. Fortunately, we made it back inside, and I locked all my doors and shut every door in the house. But yeah, no, like just like reading this story, like doing that rundown from earlier, and like getting to that part in this story, I was like, huh. Year of the conspiracy board or year of the familiarizing board.
It really seems like it. Every single episode, you have some real world connection.
Yeah, and then like never mind the fact that this story ends with the forest, the silver mist forest going up in a forest fire. Looks out my window at Canada. Yep, it's still on fire. Why is this happening this year?
I don't know, man.
Yeah. But yeah, I had to get that out there because like otherwise it wasn't gonna make any sense to our reactions during the rundown. Why we were kind of like, oh, that's not cool. I mean, that's cool, but that's not cool.
Yes.
But onto my actual thoughts, my actual thoughts, like the ones that are noted down. I'm gonna start with this quote here. A bizarre atmosphere loomed over me as I walked deeper into this troubling environment. Before long, it was getting dark, and a thick fog was rolling in from a nearby hollow. The fog scattered across the mountain, obscuring the places in between each tree and turning it into a maze of obstacles. So, we don't get a state on this one. Like he says, like my home state, but the narrator never gives us an actual state. But I wonder if the Silver Mist Forest borders the Stillwood of West Virginia in Mason County, i.e. Icker Falls.
Isn't the Stillwoods thing the fact that it doesn't want you to leave? It's like the opposite.
Yeah, well, maybe. Oh, that's what I'm saying. Maybe this forest borders it because, like,
I see. It's not the Stillwood.
Yeah. Well, also because like a thick fog coming down on coming rolling in from a nearby hollow, or as they would call it, a holler.
Yes.
It's just like, yeah, no, that's like we don't get the exact state, like 'cause it could be anywhere in America. But there's a few little context clues that made me want to think it's like, is this an Icker Falls story? I mean, it's not probably, but my headcanon my headcanon started whirring to life,
firing off.
Yeah. But I'll move on to the next thing here. I sat up and tried to reorient myself. But when I looked at my compass, something was wrong. The needle on the compass was spinning around and around like crazy. Okay, so this is going to be an in-joke for our sister podcast, One Less Die. And anybody who's listened to our Grumblehammer 1920s campaign over there. But a spinning compass? roll sand.
Yeah.
Just yeah, if you know, you know. So next thing here though, so I said earlier, like, oh, this clearly like must border on the Stillwood and like Icker Falls and such, right? Well, then we get this. I sat there in the middle of the road for a while, shocked and dumbfounded by what just happened. Maybe it was hubris, foolhardiness, or something else that came over me, but I kept driving. It would only get weirder from there. And I was like, really? The creepy Icker Falls like esque fog scenario and like thing like stalking you in the woods, UFO phenomena, a Bigfoot in the middle of the road as you're driving back to that forest trail. I take it back. The Silver Mist Forest borders Erie, Indiana.
That sort of thing is commonplace there.
Erie,
Yep.
Indiana is a 1990s TV show about a town where everything in the kitchen sink of the paranormal exists. Bigfoot eats out of the main character's trash. Yeah. Mikey knows what I'm talking about because I think he gave me his DVD copy of the show.
Yep.
In fact, I think I have it somewhere on my shelf. Still. Somewhere in yep, there it is. It's at the very end. Yep, Erie, Indiana. Found it. So yeah. So I mean, West Virginia, Indiana, they're not too far off. They're like I think a state away. Wait, so is this just in Ohio?
Could be.
Because I think West Virginia, I think the state between West Virginia and Indiana is Ohio, if my geography is correct.
Probably not, but who knows?
I'm just gonna.
I guess.
Well, I was down there earlier, like this in the year. So
earlier,
yep.
Like today.
No, like I said in the year. Well, last year anyway. Anyway, yes, I was correct. West Virginia borders Ohio and then borders Indiana. So. But I digress. Move on to my next thing. Apparently this is just going to be an episode of just me referencing other things.
Welcome to our podcast.
Yeah, really. I'm going to need you to turn around and head back to the main trail now, he said, giving me a stern look. Something didn't feel quite right about this guy. His voice sounded almost unnatural, like a stage performer delivering a line. It was only then that I noticed that his name tag was blank and that one of the patches on his shoulder was upside down. And so this was in regards to the strange forest ranger that Nair encounters. And all I got to say to this is, well, you know what they say. You can't spell stranger without ranger. And if you know what actual play podcast I am referencing, leave a comment in the comment section below as it gets posted. And
who says that?
It's a bit from something.
Gotcha.
But seriously though, yeah, Nair really just should have like noped out of there like ASAP.
We'd have no story if that's the case.
I mean, no, there's always we'd have a story. It's just like, but Nair wouldn't be in control of like the situation because the thing is like stalking her out. Like we'd have that whole like chasing out of the woods of like, and it's shifting and changing. But but yeah, move on to the next thing here. I looked back over my shoulder and saw the man vanish into thin air. It wasn't just the fog covering him. He disappeared entirely before my eyes. I kept walking back to my car. I knew then that something was very strange and seriously wrong about this forest. Either this place was messing with my mind, or the strangest of beings had claimed it as their home. Honestly, the thick fog that keeps rolling in through might just have some kind of like hallucinatory properties to it. Like this could be super mundane and it's like a gas leak kind of seeping out of the earth, and that's what actually is like what the fog actually is some kind of like natural gas like that causes like hallucinations in people. It could even be like a government test site kind of thing where like they've accidentally or purposefully leaked out this like this gas into the mists or in a mist form into this forest for some kind of experiment. or it could be supernatural, and Nair has stumbled upon a haven for the bizarre, i.e., Erie, Indiana, the woods around Erie, Indiana.
Yeah. All
Um,
surprisingly possible.
yeah. And then the next thing I have here is as I drove off from the trail entrance, I saw something lift up from beyond the pine trees. It was much larger than any bird, a man-sized winged being. The giant bird glided effortlessly through the sky. It moved with all the ease of a fish swimming through water. Its wingspan was massive, and as it swooped low, sorry, I had to burp. And as it swooped lower, I saw that it had light gray skin and glowing red eyes. It scowled down at me. So, just checking here, or just checking in from my previous comment about what exactly Nair has had to deal with in this forest. A vanishing strange forest ranger, a spectral wolf creature, and the Mothman? or I guess maybe it could even be the Thunderbird, but the description actually kind of reminded me more of the Mothman descriptions than an actual bird.
Mm-hmm.
My earlier assumption about this being in West Virginia isn't discounted quite yet. Like it's still like, I think actually like it's in West Virginia. No, it's in Indiana. No, it's in West Virginia. No, it's in Ohio. Yeah, I'm just gonna split the difference, and this takes place in Ohio somewhere.
Yeah.
Although I don't know how
both of those states have just migrated here.
Yeah, although I don't know 100% if Ohio doesn't really have any mountains. Like they got hills in the eastern part of Ohio, but they don't got mountains like West Virginia. And I know for a fact Indiana does not have mountains. Indiana is flat. As my several trips down to Gen Con have denoted.
It's like the prairies of America.
It's just the Midwest. So like
Yeah.
the Midwest is just the prairies of America. So like that's basically like basically from like Indiana or Western Ohio or Central Ohio to like basically like Kansas is just flat. So but I digress once more. So yeah, the West Virginia thing couldn't be discounted. I also now at this point in the story, I was wondering if this thing is indeed like some kind of supernatural entity, as I postulated here. I wonder if it's all one entity rather than like several like living in here, and it's just capable of shape changing. So it's just trying to like Scooby-Doo scare people out of its lair. Like it's just taking on different
actual supernatural shit.
Yeah, so like it's a bit of a blend between like Pennywise and Scooby-Doo in that like it's trying to keep people out of this forested area with like its supernatural shape-changing abilities. Like, have we ever seen the Strange Ranger and the Wolfman and the Mothman creature in the same place at once? I think not.
And the power lines.
Yeah, and the power lines. God, that was such a. I really hoped like that was supposed to be that the power lines were the creature too.
I think that's so sick.
That would be so fucking cool. Like it's so weird that I'm saying that. It's like it'd be so fucking cool if those power lines were actually the creature.
It is fucking cool. It's not
It
weird
is cool
at all.
because it's out of place.
Yeah, because like by the time you realize that there's potentially a shape-changing creature or creatures at all that are supernatural, you may have already encountered it.
God, it's like that fucking there's a creepypasta of sorts on YouTube actually. I don't think there's actually a written version of it. But there's like a video narrated version of it on YouTube by the Little Fear or the Little Fears, and it's about a lamppost that is not a lamppost. It's like a lamppost mimic or something.
That's pretty neat.
Yeah. But yeah, I digress again. I'm just digressing is the word of the day.
It is for you at least.
Yeah. So this is the next thing here. One of my friends said that she'd been hiking through there when suddenly she got the odd feeling that she had to leave. That theme repeated it in all of the stories. In all their stories. The thought randomly popping into their minds that they had to get out of there. It was as if the forest had its own way of keeping you out or letting you know that you shouldn't be there. Okay, so I mentioned earlier about the my experience last night, which I'm pretty sure I was more creeped out by that because I've been watching and listening to a lot of like Appalachian forest trail stories and stuff of late. So like that did not help.
Well, it did help. Just
it helped, but it didn't
it
help.
helped cause it.
Yeah. So I'm going to call this. Is this being the year of connective tissues? I'm going to call this segment of our show, moving forward, connective tissues time.
Yeah.
I've recently found out. So I had actually recently only recently found out about these stories of like the Appalachian mountains and hill and like forests where people like you go out into those woods. And like if you hear whispers or like something sounding like a person like mocking a bird cry or like saying your name or something like that, you need to get the fuck out. Because it is some kind of entity stalking you and you are its next meal ticket or something else like horrible. Something RPX Adam neglected to share with me when I was down in Kentucky back last summer, despite being well informed about this from local legend. Not that I'm bitter at all.
I mean, he may have been trying to get you killed, but it's fine.
I mean, whatever. And honestly, again, like this story sort of fits that bill of like something in the woods is like trying to like scare the shit out of you or like trying to either lure you in or repel you away from an area. Because sometimes that is like what the voices are, like they try to like keep you out of somewhere.
Yeah.
And in fact, and in fact, it reminded me a little bit of this of a little song I've got here.
Of course, it does.
Something's out there, older than the trees, older than the mountains, and makes you want to scream, "Country road, take me home, away from the place I don't belong. West Virginia, mountain monsters, take me home, country road."
You start crying through that.
Well, because like he wants to go home.
Yeah, I mean, it makes sense.
Yeah.
I would have replaced, I forget what you said, but with flee instead of whatever you said.
Makes me want to scream. Yeah.
Makes me want to flee.
Well,
You're trying to leave.
That's fair. Well, I don't know, because it makes me want to scream, "Country road, take me home." Like,
I see. Yeah.
Away from the place where I don't belong.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, so I
in these podcasts,
we really do. Eventually we're just gonna have like an album, of like mock songs that we've come up over the years. It's like the creepypasta Christmas album. Anyway, moving on. I think this is my last bit here. The reason I felt compelled to tell about this decades later is that a few days ago, I saw a news story about the area. It said that a massive fire ripped through the forest, burning away everything in sight. I don't have to worry about some idiot like me reading this story and heading out there now. God damn it.
You just call yourself an idiot?
No, but like, damn it, I would totally go into these woods.
Of course you would.
That's the end of the Silver Mist Forest. Whatever was there has taken its secrets with it. However, it's not the only place out there like this. I know it's not the only place. You should be aware of that. There are places on this earth where monsters roam, where unexplained lights glow in the night sky, and where people and animals aren't quite what they seem. You just have to know where to look. And sometimes, if you're like me, you'll find it by accident. So we're just gonna skip over the wildfire thing again. This ending basically gave me some ideas for game fodder. So I'm passing on the savings to you, listener and co-host.
Damn it.
First off, a Delta Green game where you're brought in on a mission to investigate some bizarre sightings in a forest. And eventually you basically start dealing with the shape-changing entity in the woods and stuff like that. Like maybe it's trying to force you out, and you're like, no, we got to investigate this deep. We must go deeper. And eventually, by the end of the scenario, you need to cover up the evidence either after you've dealt with the problem entity, or perhaps as a way of dealing with the creature or the entity. You basically have to start a forest fire to cover up your tracks and or to expel the entity from the woods.
Yeah.
My second idea, we are the men in plaid.
The men in plaid, yeah.
Men in plaid, forestry defenders. Yeah, so you're basically forest agent or forestry agents you're a forestry agents. No, you're a forestry agency of monster hunters who travel across the Americas. Could be Canada and North and the United States. Doesn't have to be just America. And it could also even be anywhere around the world because there are forest parks literally all over the planet. It could be a global, an international agency. But I could see this being done like, so yeah, you go around like hunting down like various monsters like this shape-changing creature or whatever. And I could see this being done in a number of systems, like Monster of the Week seems to be the most appropriate one for me right now. Like you're just tasked with going to like a national park to like deal with these shape-changing creatures that like stalk in the woods and such. Like again, the story just kind of reiterates the forests are scary, yo.
Yeah. That's not our territory anymore, so it's scary.
It was never our territory.
I mean, eventually, kind of. Yeah, maybe.
No, not really. We walked into those woods with torches, like that. We were never residents of those forests.
Yeah, you might be right.
Yeah. But yeah, that's the end of my my actual thoughts. So Mikey, D stands for evil.
Well, I'm going to prefix this with I'm guessing I wasn't really in a good mood when I read this story.
Oh.
So
The fact that you even partially recommended it is shocking then.
Yeah. So the first my actual thought here is about the first line. Deep within the mountainous valleys of my home state, I found a strange forest called the Silver Mist Forest, but no one can ever go there. End of story. No one can ever go there.
Yes, but we still want to hear why no one can ever go there.
I mean, technically, people can go there if they know where it is.
It's just torched now too. Like we do find out why they said that no one can ever go there. It's not because like you should. Well, first off, you shouldn't go there because of the story that we're about to hear. But also by the end of the story, it's like no, you can't go there technically anymore because it's been torched.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, and that's explained later. But the very get-go, I was just like, so there's no story. All right. And then the next actual thought is more of a, it'd be nice if things were explained a bit sooner. Because he says, I had with me a compass and one of those old emergency satellite phones in case I really needed to call for help. And then later, I trekked onward, aided only by the small keychain flashlight from my car keys. I'm like, why didn't you tell us you had the flashlight sooner? And why don't you have a regular flashlight? Because you have a honking old emergency satellite phone.
Also, why doesn't he ever use the honking satellite phone ever?
Yeah, to the story's like detriment, I do feel like there should have been some kind of explanation as to why the sat phone was never used. Like maybe that was like he tried it and like it didn't give you any signal, or maybe it broke alongside with when the compass was like acting up.
Yeah, when he like bashed into the tree. Yeah, maybe it broke it. Because that's a good way to give the character something that could potentially save them in the situation, but they can't because it gets ruined or
it gives them it gives them that safety blanket and then rips it away.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So I was just like annoyed that, yeah, it's okay that he has it, but why wasn't it explained sooner? Like he lists off 2 things that he has with him
Mhm.
before this trip, but he doesn't mention the flashlight until he needs it.
I think it's because he wasn't planning on being there at night, so that wasn't part of what he packed to bring for the purpose of going in the woods. It was just an
Yeah.
afterthought. It's like him listing what shoes and what socks he brought, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah,
He just
but I
happened
mean,
to have that on him.
yeah, it just annoyed me.
I'm surprised it wasn't a cell phone light, honestly, like if this is a somewhat modern story.
Well, 1998, dude.
Is it 98? Was
Yeah,
that
it's
the year?
this is when 1998 was when he discovered the silver mist forest.
Right. I did not write down the year. Never mind.
All right. All right. So my next actual thought is in regards to the footsteps.
Yeah.
So the quote here is, "Maybe it was paranoia, but I swear I kept hearing someone behind me, stepping with my every step." Which is like, oh, this is adding some creep factor to it. That's nice. And then all of a sudden, then the footsteps got louder and faster. I looked behind me, peering through the cloud of fog, but I couldn't see a thing. And to me, that ruined the suspense of, is there something or isn't there?
See, maybe it's my own personal experience last night, but that only added to this creepiness because, like, I experienced that. Like,
The other way to look at it is there still might be something there, but you just can't see it. We've read a couple of stories where there is something just on the other side of the veil, basically, like a giant robotic tiger that can just rip you to shreds just if you walk into a light.
yeah, and all you can hear is you can just hear the echo across the veil between worlds, or maybe it's the predator.
Yeah, literally just
like
an
it's
invisible creature.
Yeah, some kind of like invisible being or something that you can't see but you can hear. Like, I always get creeped out. Like again, see last night, but also more important, like more prevalently, like that's one thing that does kind of like, I know like it's probably a hoax like very easily, but in like ghost videos and stuff like that, when like somebody like hears or like records like a stairwell and you just hear footsteps running up but you don't see anything, that fucking gives me a chill every time.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know if, and I don't even think that's like a, like, oh my god, that's real, I believe in ghost in this ghost thing. It's like, I don't even think that's that. I think it's just like, that's the anxiety of like hearing something but not seeing something and panicking from that.
Yeah, because you should be seeing something, so why aren't they seeing it?
That's more like the prey predator sort of thing. Like, you don't know where the threat is coming from. You just hear it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then later, my imagination then decided to mess with me. The idea that perhaps a bear or some other animal was the cause of the noises entered my mind, and once it was there, I couldn't shake it. To which I'm like, well, no, duh, of course it's most likely an animal. You're in a forest.
Did you immediately assume it was something paranormal?
No, like,
No.
Because it said eventually, oh, it's probably a bear, but like he was already spooked by it first before he assumed it was an animal.
Yeah,
is what I'm saying.
Again, pointing to my experience last night, I'm sure it was a coyote. It was totally a coyote. But my fucking you guys know my fucking brain. I was definitely wondering if it was something else, something out there.
All right. So my next actual thought is, I have a few quotes here. I wandered off the typical hiking trail while in an adventuring mood and had all but gotten lost in the dense pine trees.
Yeah.
And then later, in a sudden panic, I made the mistake of running. In a full sprint, I took off, passing through the mist and dodging the trees. There is no trail, and if you're in the thick of it in a forest, you're bound to hit roots or something.
Yeah.
Like, there is no
Which-
full sprint running in a forest. And then the next quote that I have is, then, when maneuvering through the narrow space through two scraggly trees, a jutted out branch caught me and sent me veering to the side and falling backwards. And I'm like, I saw this a mile away.
Yeah,
Goes,
you're swinging in a forest that you do not know. You're going to fall.
It also could have been a lot worse. Like running. Just, oh look, I've been impaled. Because if these are pine trees, like pine trees usually have those like nasty, like broken pieces at ground level-ish, around ground level.
Yeah. So it just the whole. I went to at a full sprint in the forest. Just
No,
no.
you probably didn't. Yeah, that was definitely an exaggeration.
Maybe it's just
Yeah.
like as fast as I could physically run in the uneven terrain of the forest.
Yeah.
I got out of there as quick as I could. Would be
Yeah.
a better way to say it more vaguely, but also more
Yeah.
accurately because of that.
Still give a sense of urgency, but also like not be unrealistic.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then my final actual thought that I have here is when he's leaving the forest. And the quote is, I hesitate to call it an unidentified flying object, but that description certainly fits. And I'm just like, I'm not saying it's aliens, but
it's alien. Now,
aliens.
great. Now Nair is just that guy.
Yeah, that's exactly what he looks like now.
Yeah. Crazy hair and all.
And then the next sentence is, at this point, I just wanted to go home. To which my response was, same here, buddy. Same here.
Aw.
And that's where I checked out and just read the rest of the story.
Aw.
Fair.
All right.
Because it's like this
Yeah.
this story has too many shenanigans going on. I'm just gonna turn off my mind so I can read the rest of the story.
Swear to God, I'm gonna pistol whip the next person who says shenanigans. Hey Farva, what's that really cool? What's that restaurant you really like? Oh, what shenanigans? Ah.
What was that from? I've heard that before.
It's from
many
Super
times.
Troopers.
Oh, okay, right.
We need to watch Super Troopers again. I fucking love that movie.
Yeah, it's good.
It's such a good movie. Sorry. All right, so that's all you got then for actual thoughts.
Yep.
All right. Well, I'm sorry that you're in such a crummy mood when you're in this story, or you're put in such a crummy mood from it.
It happens to us all.
Yeah. All right, gamer. Let's hear your thoughts on the story.
Okay. First thing, there's a picture that no one talked about.
Is there? I thought those. You're right. You know what? I thought it was. I took a look at that picture, and I thought it was one of the videos of like, because there's various people who have narrated the story. So, Yep, you're right.
But yep, pretty accurate picture to how I imagined it.
Yep. Based on the pines, I'm gonna say that it might not be West Virginia area, because it might be more West Coast, because again, as I discovered when I went down to Kentucky, there aren't as many pine forests down there. But yeah.
Either way.
Yep.
I will digress.
Sorry.
I did it. I digressed. Are you proud of me, Dad?
Yes, son.
Okay. So I know that Nair says, quote unquote, I must have been caught up with my own mind or in some kind of daze because for whatever reason I just kept walking and walking without realizing how far I'd gone in. I know he says that, but as soon as you realize that you're way off the path and it's getting dark, why not turn back? Because he's like still continuing, even though he is saying that it's getting dark, and he knows that he doesn't know where he is, and he knows that he's not prepared to continue going, but he keeps going anyway.
Yeah.
Which it can't be a paranormal or supernatural reason because the Force wants him to fuck out. So
Yeah,
it's just his own curiosity that's making him want to go.
well, I mean, we all know the saying, curiosity killed the cat. So,
Are
but
you saying that Nair is a cat in the story?
no, I'm
He
saying
is
they were
now.
killed by a cat. No.
Okay.
They secretly have been dead this whole time. No.
Uh,
But no, I'm wondering, like, it isn't mentioned in the story. You are right. Like, this is kind of a weird thing, but like, I wonder if like maybe like Nair has just like been rolling his will saves like a motherfucker the entire time. Like the GM has been telling him to roll will saves after will save, and he keeps passing them. So he's just keep going deeper and deeper, and then when he finally like gets deep enough, he either or either he fails his final will save, or he gets into a part of the woods that basically triggers a sand check or like an alertness check, so or a perception check that like makes him realize, oh shit, I am not in the right. I am not supposed to be here. And like basically his will saves, like he was basically like his mind was like subconsciously defending him against the psychic like attack of like being pushed out of this forest kind of thing. Yeah.
I mean, it does also straight up say, I must have been caught up in my own mind or in some kind of daze.
Yeah.
And everything, but I kind of wish it was something that wasn't making me think that there was a supernatural draw to the forest, because why would it draw him in only to go
Kick him
booga
out.
booga get out?
Yeah. Unless so he when he was talking to his friends later, he found that a couple of them had like even like they'd set up camp in those woods and then woken up and their entire tent and area had been like reorganized over to the main trail.
Yeah.
So like maybe while Nair, the reason why Nair got deep so far in is because the fucking entity's dealing with another asshole on the other side of the woods.
But they were camping at the exact same time.
or just like some other like people like are just like getting close to his. It's basically a tower defense game.
Yeah.
Like and Nair just got deep enough in that like before being repelled by the entity's defenses.
It's also possible, and what I assumed from the get-go,
Yeah.
that this isn't about the forest itself being the creature.
No.
It is a section of forest that is filled with multiple different creatures, some of which may be like siren songing him into the woods, like how he got drawn there, and then others like furry park ranger Eagle Man saying "Get the fuck out."
Yeah.
So it's entirely possible that that's why there is an unknown draw and repelling feature happening.
Oh god. Okay. What if? If this does indeed, again, this is my own like headcanon. This is not me saying like this is truth for the story. But what if? Yeah, what if? So the Silver Mist Forest borders the Stillwood, and what was drawing Nair into the woods was the Stillwood King. That was the thing that was stalking him with like with like the footfalls and stuff like that behind him, and it was getting closer and closer and faster, kind of like what the Stillwood does.
Yeah.
And then the other monster, like the Bigfoot or the shape-changing Stranger Ranger, that was the entity that lurks in the actual Silver Mist Forest that tries to keep people out so that they don't step into the Stillwood.
I see. Yeah.
So like the Stillwood is beyond the Silver Mist Forest, and the Stillwood King can lure people to its domain through the Silver Mist Forest. That's why the SNTF, the Supernatural Task Force, has Stranger Ranger.
Yeah.
in the Silver Mist Forest to keep punks from getting too close to the Stillwood.
Hell yeah. I straight up had a note that's basically the exact same thing.
Ah, shit. I'm sorry for stealing your thunder,
No, that's
man.
fine. You said it with way more gusto than I have.
Honestly, I honestly like in that like as I was like talking, I got there. Like that's how I got. So
it's like you're building this all in your head, and then it all clicks together. Like as you're saying, it's like, oh, that's why this.
Yeah. Also, Stranger Ranger is now the name of Stranger Ranger. On top of being like my name now for this creature, it's also the name of my high school ska band. Hey, we're the Stranger Rangers.
That sounds like knockoff Power Rangers.
Go, Stranger Rangers! And now I want to run a tokusatsu game where you guys are forest Power Rangers fighting creepypasta-esque forest monsters
Yeah.
and protecting hikers and campers. Damn it! I'll add it to the list of games to run.
What are
I
their
do-
elements? Just like the different types of forest-related things, like trees, bugs,
Yeah,
mammals,
bugs, river or creeks, mountains.
and heart.
Go play. Stranger Ranger, he's a hero. God damn it. This is a very bardic episode.
It is.
Oh, shit.
As all episodes should be.
Yes.
But yes, also, as back to my quote.
Yeah, I'm so sorry.
It's fine. I like this. He did. I mentioned this earlier, but he did literally say that he had a satellite phone and a compass for this exact situation of him being lost, and yet he waits until it's too dark to see to confirm that someone's stalking him and everything. It's just there's a lot of questionable decisions that Nair does here.
I dare say, is Nair from Derpland?
He might be. Yeah, he's just visiting.
Yeah. Well, no, because this is from this is a forest in his home state. So maybe he was living in Derpland, so he's a little derpish.
Yeah, a little derpish, not super derp.
Yeah, no, he's not a native Derplander. So he was just like
super derp Osborne, but
yeah, no.
Yeah.
God damn it. Yeah.
That was a Super Dave Osborne reference for those unaware.
For those kids out there who've never heard of Super Dave Osborne.
Look up Super Dave. He's good shit. All right, moving on.
Yeah.
Every shadow and shape in my path seemed a potential danger as paranoia gripped me. The darkness echoed its black and yellow emptiness at me in waves. It's cool that the story specifically calls out the color of this supernatural emptiness like that. Oh, wait, it was black and hollow. Never mind. I read it.
Is black and what?
It's blank and hollow. So
Oh,
I read it
okay.
as black and yellow the first time for some reason.
I was confused. I was like, wait, does it say black and yellow?
No. My brain with its color focus. Just like, oh, that's what those are. Moving on.
Yep.
No other words could possibly be those things.
Yep. Also, just as a quick aside, like just a slight tangent.
Uh-huh.
Every time you guys have been saying it like constantly, like quoting this one line. It's like maybe it was paranoia, maybe it was Maybelline.
Maybe it was Maybelline. Yeah.
Yeah. So I just had to get that out because
waiting for an angle to throw that in there.
it is literally every time you guys have said that in this, like in your quotes, I have like immediately popped in my head. Maybe it's Maybelline.
Yes, I have ruined you with that. I'm
Damn
so.
it. You and that commercial from like the early 2000s, I guess.
Well, of course.
Yeah.
The commercial ruined me and I ruined you.
Yeah.
And now we're ruining our viewers.
Yeah.
So this is just a vicious cycle of ruining. Then, moving on, Nair gets clotheslined by a branch hilariously. Says, I sat up and tried to reorient myself. But when I looked at my compass, something was wrong. The needle on the compass was spinning around like crazy. Did it break in the fall or was something affecting it? I like that it's showing Nair weighing like what could have possibly happened here and the cause of it spinning around.
Yeah.
And he's like going to rational ways, because considering the exposure I have to creepy shit, I kind of assumed Nair would immediately go, oh, there's supernatural stuff here, it's spinning. But he immediately went like, did I break it? Oops.
Yeah. The only issue is like I agree with Mikey on this. I do wish that like the radio had also gotten a little bit here as well.
Or, had any use.
Yeah. Ever been used?
Am I wrong that the satellite phone was never used?
The satellite phone was never used.
Okay.
It literally like it's mentioned that they had it, and then it's never mentioned again.
Yeah.
They forgot about it.
I forget, what is the term Chekhov's gun? Is that the
Chekhov's gun
flashlight
is
in this?
Yeah, Chekhov's gun is a literary device where like if you can't figure out how to get out of a situation, here's a gun.
Fabricated shotgun situation.
Kinda, yeah. I'm pretty sure. I'm just gonna double check, make sure I've got that correct.
So that's what I thought it was. So in that case, the keychain flashlight would be the Chekhov's gun of this. Chekhov's flashlight.
A Chekhov's gun is a dramatic principle that suggests that details within a story or play will contribute to the overall narrative. This encourages writers to not make false promises in their narrative by including extemporaneous details that will
movies.
not ultimately pay off in an act. Okay, so basically, if you include, so no, it's the Chekhov's gun is if you include a gun in the first act, you better fucking use it in the next act.
So yeah, Chekhov's gun is actually the satellite phone.
The satellite
There's a
phone is
satellite
indeed.
phone. Use the damn satellite phone or break it. Even breaking the satellite phone is using.
Exactly. Yeah. Like if you're gonna have the gun, if you're gonna have the gun, or in this case the sat radio or the sat phone, fucking use the sat phone at some point in the story.
Was this edited by freaking how can I not remember his name? I'll get there. It'll be good. George Lucas editing out guns to be set to be phones.
Okay, you were close. It was Spielberg.
Fuck! I thought I'm like, wait, was it Spielberg or Lucas? I don't know.
See, the when you think George Lucas, I was like, he CGI. He adds in like, or because George Lucas has altered Star Wars scenes, like who shot first, Han or Greedo. But I think, but then you said like, oh, like he edited out guns. Like, no, that's Spielberg in E.T. the Extraterrestrial.
I was close.
You're welcome, Adam. When he decided to switch out the shotguns that the police were holding for walkie-talkies in I think the 30th anniversary of the ET, and then
it didn't look like the cops were going to shoot the kids.
Which is funny because nowadays he regrets doing that.
Really,
he wishes he'd actually like kept because it made sense like for them to have guns in that scene. But yeah.
But it's a kid's movie.
Yeah, but at the same time, like that's what made it dope when you were a kid, like in the 80s and watching ET. Like, yeah. Anyway, back to your actual thoughts.
Yes, I'll move away from the tangent that we got on from the.
Hang on. I think I hear something.
Tangent police, better move on.
Oh, fuck the tangent police! They've shown up. All right, I'm gonna get it. What's the next one? All right, this one's very short. I made my way back to my car just as the stars came out to decorate the night sky. I like this little bit of flavor text to the description. Like, it's not spending a ton of time to describe something unimportant like the sky, but it's doing more than just saying the stars came out, you know?
Yeah. So,
like, just like someone who got paid to help contact the dead for someone, this is a happy medium.
Wow. Tangent, please come in. There he is.
This isn't a tangent, though.
Get him.
Do they have a pun officer on standby?
This is a pun investigator, a PI.
Yeah, he's still a PI. Yeah.
God damn it.
You're welcome.
God damn it. Hate you so much.
I mean, again, every time you say that, I say it's fair because it's true.
Yeah.
The hate is deserved and warranted. It's fine.
Let the hate flow through you.
Yeah, exactly. But I will move on. I needed to go back there. Something was pulling me back. It was like a piece of me was still there. This time, however, I would go in the morning. This time, I'd be prepared to see something strange. So this whole aspect is a cool way to do a slow build up to a reveal. And I'm sure it's been done before, but because everything's been done before. But
everything's a remix.
Yeah, basically. Especially because like there's some downtime where Nair is like stewing on the idea and reliving the experience and the dream and everything, and hyping up the adventure to go back there. So I kind of like that because like the first time Nair went out there, didn't really see anything but was spooked about it repeatedly, like building up the tension. And then we're gonna go back and somehow they're going in there expecting to see something weird and they're okay with that. And they're deciding to go in by themselves, which is dumb.
Yeah.
Why Nair didn't bring someone for A, backup in case it is something dangerous, and B, to confirm that Nair is not insane?
Yeah, that's true.
Set of eyes?
Yeah. Agreed.
Like, especially since he's expecting to be attacked. Doesn't even bring a weapon either, I don't think.
Yeah, I mean, I assume this is in America.
Oh, I'm sorry. I thought this was America.
I assume they should. This guy, this Nair probably has a gun somewhere in their home.
Mm-hmm.
They should have, and they got the right to bear arms. Bring that thing out there. Now that we've alienated the Americans in our group, or in our listenership,
I mean, we do that every episode. It's fine.
that's true. We do inadvertently alienate every listener at some point in time.
Yeah, I will continue. So,
Okay.
Nair goes back during the day, sees the forest ranger. As soon as this guy showed up, it kind of pulled me out of the whole vibe of this whole story, honestly. Because, like, yeah, there's still something weird going on, considering his uniform is weird, but it was still. It completely changed everything. It changed the whole vibe and everything. Because, like, it changed it from worrying about some creature that he can't see to some potentially intelligent paranormal entity here all of a sudden. Like, it's a completely different genre now, it feels.
Yeah, it became more weird fiction. Honestly, it is basically kitchen sink kind of situation. Like we're getting everything's getting thrown at us. Like also, what the Rangers what threw you off or what pulled you out? Not Bigfoot crossing the road.
No, because it's still a creature.
Oh, that's true. Yeah, I guess. But
The
yeah,
Ranger's
like
just a dude, but like he's some weird paranormal dude that probably works for the SNTF. Hence the you didn't see anything bit.
yeah.
Like,
see,
but
yeah, it definitely works for like some kind of organization. See, like I definitely saw it as like it for me. It just kind of it made it added more to the creepiness because like there's some kind of cover up now going on here. Like it gave me like there's some kind of intent, not just some kind of like mysterious creature. There's actually there's an insidious intent here.
yeah, and I get that, but the whole first encounter with everything, the whole feel I got from it is the sort of feel you get from being in the forest by yourself, being hunted by a creature. Like you could just be stalked by a wolf or coyotes or something in the forest, and it's the same sort of fear. It's like a primal sort of thing.
Yeah.
Then all of a sudden you're parlaying with a creature that's just a dude.
I see what you're saying, but I would have taken it more like because I did take it more like it's similar. It's a slightly different version of what we got earlier, where like in terms of like no context sort of issue, like what the fuck's stalking the character, and then this one it's like what the fuck's going on? Why doesn't this guy want me in here? Why is his name tag blank? Is this actually the creature? Like just trying to like why is it trying to ward people off? Like you still get kind of those questions that you were asking earlier about like why this is happening and why this thing is doing this. We're just getting a few more details that are expanding on the strangeness of this whole situation.
Yeah.
But I do get like it can also have the unfortunate side effect of like pulling somebody out because suddenly their expectation is kind of gone from this, or they had a different you may have had a different expectation of the story from the strange like vague out of context setup that it had at the beginning of the story.
Yeah, because at the start, we had no idea what was chasing Nair, because all we got was the footprints were mimicking his own, which I guess you would extrapolate that out into it's a bipedal creature, at least.
Yeah. Well, based on like the fact that it
mimicking
is, yeah, and based on the fact that it has, we had a bipedal, like some kind of bipedal locomotion at the beginning of the story. We encountered a bipedal furry Bigfoot-like creature on the road. We then encountered a bipedal being masquerading as a ranger, and then we got I for some reason kept thinking that it was actually like a werewolf, not a wolf, like a bipedal wolf, rather than an actual like four-legged wolf.
I think I just thought it was a wolf because it just
Yeah,
said silver wolf, right?
I know. Yeah, it does say. I think my initial thing was that the ranger had changed into this wolfman creature, and then we got a birdman sort of situation like at the very end of the story. So like it's been bipedal the whole time, pretty much.
Except for the one time it wasn't.
Except for the one time.
Yes. Well, it was just a weird change in gearing for me.
Fair.
But I'll move on. Then I'm not going to bring it up again because we keep bringing it up. Fire happened through the forest, burned it all away. Actually, yeah, but okay, so the forest burns away and all that, and he says, I don't have to worry about some idiot reading the story and heading out there. it's the end of the Silver Mist Forest. Whatever was there has taken its secrets with it. Nair doesn't know that. He doesn't know that whatever secrets were there are gone with the fire, because the trees aren't necessarily what's important. It's the creatures that were messing with you, not the trees.
You're
Unless
absolutely,
all those creatures are just visions.
Yeah.
Because he didn't actually interact with any of them.
So again, I think this is like just like the narrator just basically like wishful thinking, or hopefully like kind of like thing. But like again, what I saw last night was, or what I heard last night was totally coyotes. It was totally coyotes.
Yeah.
Coyotes.
It has to be coyotes.
It was certainly not the Eastern Ontario diamondback doodlebug.
I'm sorry?
That was Adam's suggestion for what I encountered last night.
Oh, okay.
Thanks,
Very
Adam.
Random.
Yeah. Well, it's kind of it's a play on, like, again, well, that's just your typical Kentucky tree dolphin.
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
It was just your typical Eastern Ontario diamondback doodlebug.
Mm-hmm.
God damn, it's becoming that's like almost Reddit no sleep like levels of like long-winded title.
A little bit. It's getting close for sure. But regardless, back to the quote.
Yeah, sorry.
In regards to the place burning down, whatever. And yes, you're right. Nair is not necessarily the most reliable narrator, because Nair doesn't know everything. Because how could they?
They're not
Either way. There could, in regards to the forest, there could be some like important relic that's buried somewhere, or some stone structure, or a cabin that's off in a clearing that has all the weird shit in it, but it's enough of a clearing that the fire wouldn't reach it. Basically,
I mean, hell, for all we know, it could be the entity, the thing that all those creatures that they saw could have just been psychic emanations from a sleeping entity beneath, like deep beneath the earth, just in like just below that forest.
Yeah. So long story short, the forest doesn't necessarily mean that all the creepiness is gone of that forest. It's just not necessarily a forest anymore.
Yeah. Yeah, now the sequel of this one should be like, oh, they've started building like development there, and because of the because they burned down, so it's like, so they'll call it Black Pines, Black Pine Hills or something, and it's like kind of a poltergeist situation where they removed the tombstones, but they didn't move the bodies. They moved they got rid of all the trees, but they didn't get rid of the creepiness.
Yeah, pretty much, yeah.
And now the sequel is like in the present, or like in like 10, 20 years in the future of like the present day. And there's a suburb there, and now these like weird things. It's basically creating. This is the origin story for Erie, Indiana.
Yeah, for sure.
Sorry. Yeah,
he's fine. But either way, even if the forest was needed in some way for these creatures to survive, there's nothing to say that the creatures won't just move on to the next forest. Like,
and start
all those creatures or the one entity, if these are all the same entity, could just go somewhere else.
Yeah.
Unless they are specifically tied to this area, in which case they're still there, fire or not.
Yeah. They've just maybe gone to ground, or gone into hiding while the forest burned down or something.
Mm-hmm.
Also it also kind of like, it doesn't that kind of statement doesn't necessarily negate what Nair says at the end of the story. Like, there are this isn't the only place like this. There are other places where monsters roam. It's like, yeah, you're right. The ones where these monsters have now taken up residence.
Exactly. Yeah, that's about it for my notes.
Okay. Well, I suppose we move on to final thoughts then. So, like, I really like the ideas behind this one. Like, the woods are creepy and crazy. Can't trust them. Perfect fodder for creepypasta. I like the idea that like it was just one entity shapeshifting as all these different things to try and like ward off people. I'm also a fan of it just being a haven for some supernatural element, like some supernatural faction. Oh god, this is kind of reminding me of the Transylvania region of Secret World Legends, where there's an entire like in the Carpathian Mountains in region of Secret World. There's like a whole village that where all the neutral or even good aligned like supernatural creatures like werewolves, ancient forest gods, gnomes, elves, like other like various folkloric like critters and stuff have all taken up residency with the human population to survive and kind of like and to survive the vampire invasion that has happened in Carpathia.
Mm-hmm.
So it kind of reminded me of that. Is like this is like some kind of like a haven for like supernatural entities. And maybe that's why the fire was started. It was like some monster slayers came in like to take them down, and like they had to, and they basically were trying to smoke them out by burning the forest.
Yeah, meanwhile, they're all like not exactly dangerous supernatural creatures because all they wanted Nair to do was just leave.
Yeah, just wants humans to leave them alone. Like, is that so wrong? Like, yeah, at no point do the monsters actually attack Nair like in a threatening way. It's mostly just to get rid of them.
Mm-hmm.
So like
hell, even the story of Nair's friend camping in the woods, they were just
they moved
picked
him
up and moved them.
Yeah, exactly. So like I kind of like that idea a lot. Like I might legitimately pull that for our Secret World tabletop RPG campaign whenever I get the rules for that.
Mm-hmm.
You can check that out, One Less Die, whenever we run that and get posted. But back to the story. Yeah, I like all these ideas. I also like the mundane idea of like the fog just being some kind of having a gas leak in it, and like
Yeah.
they were just hallucinating this whole. Hence why like they only ever see anything like this when they get close to the silver mist forest.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, so again, it's tapping into a great vein of creepiness, of creepypasta potential. Like forest be crazy, yo. Like forest be scary. So I also like how. Oh no, I already said, yeah. I also like how this maybe is resolved, but like you said, like maybe not. And also, it kind of hints at like there being a bigger, more global situation.
Mm-hmm.
Like this one forest is not an outlier. There seem to be there are like Nair seems to have some knowledge that there are other weird forests out there, very similar to the one that they've encountered.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, that's honestly why I'm recommending it. I always dig these forest stories, and this one didn't piss me off enough to like merit even a half recommendation. Like I mean, like in terms of like it wasn't terrible to read. Like I was able to get into it. So and it had a subject that I enjoy. So it kind of won me over with all that. So I recommend. But Mikey, these deads are evil.
All right.
Your verdict.
So, as stated before, the main issue I had was that there wasn't enough explanation of things before they happened. Like or the description was wrong, like going full sprint in the forest.
Mm-hmm.
Or like, and suddenly having his keychain flashlight when he could have explained that he had a keychain flashlight when he was explaining that he had an old emergency satellite phone, but he also never used the emergency satellite phone.
Yeah, it just vanishes.
Yeah. So I guess the main problem I have with this is that the parts that are supposedly rooted in reality aren't worded in a way that makes sense for reality. So there's not enough contrast between, oh, that's creepy, but look at me sprint through this forest and trip and fall because I'm sprinting in the forest.
See,
Like,
I gotta counter you there because, like, you're you kind of contradict yourself there because it's unrealistic that he'd be full sprinting in a forest. Oh, look at him fall! It's like that happened in the story. He tried to full sprint in the forest and he got hit and he hit something and fell. So like,
yeah, but
it is kind of
and that's
realistic. He tried, yeah. So okay.
well, that's where like the description of the full sprint, like if it didn't just plainly say full sprint and just went on, like, maintain. I made the mistake of trying to run in a forest.
Mhm.
Like, that would have been better in that scenario. But then the issue that I have is like what earlier, which is the flashlight, and he gets it when it's convenient, and that annoyed me because he had a perfectly good opportunity to say that he had a flashlight when he was saying
Yeah.
that he had the phone.
Fair. Okay, I'll give you that one. Also, as maybe a fix for like why the satellite never gets used. Maybe maybe it fell out of his pocket, or it fell and like fell into somewhere that he couldn't find it when he fell as well. So like he was able to find his compass. Oh no, it's not working. Let me get my sat phone. Where the fuck's my sat phone? And then like he looks around and
that.
if
If it
it's
said
yeah.
that.
No, that's what I'm saying. Like that would be a fix for that, like that problem.
Or it broke, or just
Yeah.
don't write in a sat phone.
Well, I think the
That's
sat phone's fine to be there, but you need to yank that away. Like you can't just like forget about it during the story.
That's what
Like,
I'm saying. Either
yeah.
don't write it in or use it.
Yeah.
But I get what you're
saying. Two options.
No, I get what you're saying, but I'm saying also
AKA using
Okay,
it
fine.
to be broken or removed from the character, not necessarily turn it on and use it.
All right, fine.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, and I understand. Whatever. I'm done.
Okay.
Yeah. And then like for me the creepiness was there and then it disappeared. Like like I said with the footsteps. Like having something following you and mimicking your footsteps to me is rather creepy.
Mhm.
But then
It
to
is.
have the footsteps suddenly a lot louder and no longer matching your step, but you still can't see anything. It's like, well, is it running away? Like,
You'd be getting
it's
louder though,
not.
so it'd be closer.
It'd be getting See, I'm gonna agree to disagree on this because like no, I'd be still creeped out just for a different reason than like, oh no, this thing's mimicking me. Oh no, it's getting closer. Now I'm getting anxiety because it's coming at me. Or like if it's getting louder, it's coming at me. It's not going away.
Yeah, but if it's coming towards you and you can't see it, like
That's fucking creepy. How do you not think that's fucking creepy?
because it just doesn't work for me.
Okay, no, that's fair. Like yeah.
I think either it just is running full tilt from the get go, or it's stalking creepily. Like one or the other, but not both.
Why not? Because okay, so here's my take on that. Like it's keeping up. It's keeping pace with him and like stalking him. And then when it realizes that Nair notices that it's there, that's when it starts like jigs up, it comes running at him. Like that's it switches gears to something to a different mode effectively. Adding on another type of fear, like from my perspective again. But again, if you're not getting the same creepiness, like that's fine. Like we are different people.
Yeah, and then it just as soon as the UFO showed up, I just threw all semblance of reality out the window.
I will admit. I will admit once like the UFOs is in this, it was like, all right, this is just throwing everything in the kitchen sink at us. But I'm also here for that. But I can see why you would clock out at that point, because that is kind of it does kind of get loopy after that.
Yeah. And like and that's where I personally like this, because it does have some uniqueness, like the wolf that says turn back or turn BACK.
That's not how you spell turn, Mr. Wolf.
And now
Eh.
your lunch.
Mhm.
Yeah, and then the Stranger Ranger was interesting, but it's just uh I couldn't um sort of root it in reality for myself.
Okay.
Like this is to me is just a story. There's no as soon as it's just a story and I'm desensitized because there's a UFO, like the
I'm sorry, you're not a
yes,
ufologist? No. Are you not believing?
yeah.
Do you not want to believe?
Well, the thing is, creepy stuff can happen, but I'm not going to believe it.
Fair. Yeah.
Well, once it loses any sort of rooting in reality. Now, if it explained that, or the explanation is that there's a gas leak or something, which is why the forest is misty during the day.
Yeah.
Um,
Like that is
that
actually legitimately a naturally occurring phenomena that has happened that has been an explanation for like weird shit across the world. Like
yeah,
people walk into an area that has a gas leak, like gas leaking, seeping out of the earth in a mist-like form, and then you start seeing like weird supernatural shit. Like that is literally like a good explanation for a lot of weird shit that we have in our folklore and
yeah.
across the world. So yeah,
But then, as Gamer Yellow pointed out, when he goes back a second time, he should have brought someone with him.
yeah, fair.
And then be like, "Are you seeing this?" I was like, "No, I'm seeing a giant frog." I was like,
I'm just seeing bodies everywhere. Like, hey, dude, are you seeing all these logs around? It's like, no, those aren't logs, those are bodies. Like, oh, all the people that have come into this woods before and actually like succumb to the gas.
yeah. So I'm still at a partial recommendation, uh, like, because I like the creativity and adding a bunch of different creatures and whatnot, but the reality was out the window, so
All right,
it
fair
didn't
enough.
have a creepy factor for me.
Yeah. All right, and then gamer.
For me, I initially said recommend it, but I think I'm gonna swap it to like a partial or a high partial now because although I liked it, honestly, like I liked it, but like I didn't like how it like switched gears on me because
fair.
like
Yeah.
it wasn't entirely unwanted. It just changed the pace way to something that I wasn't immediately into, but like I get it. But at the end of the day, I feel like this would have more creep value to it if it was just if it could be explained away as there was just an animal that was just protecting its area. Even if you went back and there was still like some creepy thing that you didn't see, but it was still stalking you, it could just be an animal. You know,
Okay, so
it's
you wanted this to be like just a singular cryptid of some kind, like
yeah, it
defending its
could be, yeah,
territory.
yeah, just
See, I mean, I agree. Like, I'm like you again. Like, it's okay to have that opinion. But yeah, I definitely have to agree to disagree because I just like the more complex like aspects of the story.
mm-hmm. And I do
But
like the potential scale of this. Like, it's not just one random force. There's a ton of other areas that do similar things.
Mhm.
But that also could just be explaining why this takes place in real life, and so does a number of other creepypastas not written by the same guy.
yeah,
Um, like I enjoyed the read and everything, and the cons didn't really get in the way of things. It just it set up my expectations for one thing, and then it did not deliver on that, which was kind of weird for me.
Mhm.
So yeah, I'll still go like a high partial recommendation because it was still good. It's just I kind of wish it stuck to its guns a little bit more. Because I couldn't get into the Stranger Ranger deal and the UFO and stuff, and the lack of common sense that Nair would have. Be like, I almost died out there last night. I'm gonna go there again with no help and no weapon. Like, bring someone with you,
Or bring a firearm.
or both. Like,
or both, yeah.
yeah, because like, especially if you're hiking somewhere you've never been before, it's somewhere you've never been before where you felt like you were about to be attacked last time. Like, you should absolutely bring someone with you. And like satellite phone, you have it, use it. Like it's setting
Chekhov's sat phone.
it's setting things up to make it seem like Nair does think with common sense, but then doesn't use the things that he brings with him. It's weird. So for those reasons, I'm gonna say a high partial, but I can't fully recommend it anymore, just because like these issues are getting so glaring to me, and it's kind of pulling me out of the immersion of this.
Yeah,
Especially
fair.
with like giant alien ships flying around and no one notices this. If it was stuff all on the ground floor, I would be more accepting of it, but there was a spaceship.
Okay, whatever.
It's hard to hide a spaceship, dude.
No, it isn't. It's really not. Like, if you're, especially since this isn't like a national park or like somewhere like that, those are like miles and miles of generally unpopulated forest and land. So it's not that hard to think that like a like some kind of glowing like light in the sky isn't going to get noticed. But again, I'm not going to try and change your mind on this. But
maybe if it didn't have a bright glowing purple light on it.
If it had been yellow, you would have been 100%.
No, it'd be even brighter. it'd be cooler, but it would be less.
Like, search your feelings, gamer, in yellow.
Uh-huh.
Yep.
But it's not very stealthy. Because like I said, I'd hear an ominous sound of something approaching, so it makes loud noises too. And
Did
it
it
has
actually say
a
it
bright
made-
glowing. Yes, I just read that.
Okay.
Like that's how he heard it before he saw it, so it's not like it was silent.
Oh, fair, yeah.
And like, where did that even go with the spaceship? Is this whole thing?
Yeah, you're assuming that it is actually a spaceship. It might have just like been the entity that the actual entity's like true form is just this like energy ball of purple energy.
Yeah,
That's also me
I don't
assuming
know,
that.
man.
But like, yeah, like that's sort of like this is an out of context sort of situation where like we don't get all the facts and we're not
Yeah.
supposed to. That's the point.
And we never see two entities in the same area or in the same scene together, so
Exactly.
it could
Yeah.
be one thing shape shifting. It could be multiple different things. So
Could be swamp.
left up in the air.
Could literally be swamp gas.
Yeah, it could just be also nothing.
Yeah.
That's. I feel like it is that now, just because of how random everything is. Like Bigfoot, UFO. There's a ranger, but he's weird. There's a wolf, and it talked to me. That could have just been an actual wolf just sitting there, but he's imagining it talking to him. Like there's so many.
And then the
ways it could go.
Mothman-like entity showed like escorted me out of the area.
Meanwhile, it's probably just like a hawk
large-
was flying overhead or something.
Yeah, or a heron of some kind. Yeah.
Yeah.
You know what people think the Mothman actually is? It's just a
Really?
giant. Well, a lot of people think that like most of the sightings are probably just like a large like marsh bird, like a heron or a like a stork-like creature or a
Mhm.
stork-like bird, like an actual, not like something like cryptozoological, but like an actual like like a already confirmed species of large swamp bird.
Yeah.
But
Yeah,
Well-
that's about all I got to say.
all right, well, I'm gonna stick with my guns, but
do
yeah. So I guess that brings us to one full recommendation and two partial recommendations, one on the low end, one on the high end.
Mhm.
So if you like what you heard, or if you didn't, leave us a comment in the comment section below where this gets posted, whether it be on Podbean, Facebook, YouTube, or Tumblr. We're all on Twitter. Mikey is at the E stands for evil. The Gamer in Yellow is at the Gamer in Yellow, but without that name.
We know English.
The Gamer in Yellow is at the Gamer in Yellow, but without that W at the end, because the name is very long.
Yeah.
And I'm at Review Cultist. You can also send us emails at aldenterigamortis@gmail.com. That's ALDENTERIGAMORTIS@gmail.com. Where you can also leave us suggestions for other creepypastas, SCPs, spooky things. You creep it, we'll peep it. Yeah. And if you'd like to help support our show financially, you can go to Patreon. Look up Al Dente Rigor Mortis and select the backer tier you'd like to support us at. We have $2 and $5 tier. For our patrons that are helping support the show, thank you immensely. You're helping keep those hosting bills at bay. And as always, we very much appreciate that. And to our listeners and the authors of these stories, thank you immensely. Because without your listenership, it'd be like screaming into the void. And without your authorship, without the stories that you write and post on creepypasta.wiki or SCP Foundation or what have you online, we really wouldn't have much of a show because we'd have nothing to talk about. And I would certainly not have anything to talk about or that I strangely connect to every fucking week this year.
Yeah, it's so weird.
So thank you. Until next time, I have been your host, Review Cultist.
I'm Mikey. The E stands for evil.
And I'm the gamer in yellow.
And this has been Al Dente Rigor Mortis. Sleep well and stay out of those woods.